a babillion nerves. Welcome, everybody. Oh my. Well then, this works. Connect to computer. Zoom test. My mic aux is working. Um, I am allowing our guest to have a couple moments to eat, and we shall get to the programming in a bit. Is it this scene? Yes, it is. There. I am 20 bajillion times nervous, or than I thought I would be, because I haven't done this before. I'm used to interviewing people who are established in the game industry, or people I know pretty darn well, and I'm just kind of winging it. Being myself with a complete stranger, not a complete stranger, just maintaining a certain level of professionalism is very, very hard when you have essentially tried to take both spheres of your professional life into your personal life and vice versa and try to like bridge the two. And it's like, I want to make video games, but I also want to go back into web development. And the reason why I don't go into web development is because I see how much work it takes to do that, and I'm exhausted of trying to do that. So I am a lazy potato, but I got time on the clock. I am going to do that, and then close that. Probably close this. People can hear me now, and I'm just like, oh fudge, I forgot. All right, let's do a stream ping. Let's do a real quick stream ping. Just let people know that we're happening. How is everybody doing? I haven't even asked how people are doing. We're going to try and change it up so that I'm gonna try and take questions like I did for the Dorp interview, and it'll be like a first come first serve basis. And I'm probably gonna zag at things because it just helps for me tracking and so that people see on screen where we're at. This is gonna go above this. I forgot all about that. That's the chat overlay. I'm gonna scoot that. I'm gonna scoot this. Scoot it over. We'll just leave it there. That works. It'll be interesting having the chat overlay like that, but yes. Nobody can see what I'm talking about. That's fine. That's fine. Oof. I've been so nervous with doing interviews, and I don't know why that is. And I think it's because of I couldn't keep the momentum going. I had a lot of personal things come up, and because a lot of personal things came up, I feel like an imposter, which is fine and fantastic, but you didn't come here to listen to me ramble about what an imposter I feel like. You came to learn programming, and that is what we're going to learn today. Just give it about, 2 more minutes. Why is Discord not? I'll do it on my phone. I will do it on my phone. I am getting all the jitters out of my system right now. I do hope you're enjoying this. Let's see. Do general, not general. Uh, stream ping. Do 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 do. Let's see. Programming podcast. Cris Fortune. See some stream of I'm gonna check Zoom in like 2 shakes, but I hope everyone's having a fantastic afternoon and or evening. I am on the struggle bus right now, but that's a-okay because there's always gonna be technical difficulties, am I right? Um, I uh I sure do am nervous. Sure do am nervous. Whoa, what was that? Um, let's see. Hello. I have been entertaining everybody for I haven't seen anyone in chat yet. I assume nobody's in chat right now.
Hey,
Oh, oh, I'm sorry. Could you test again?
hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you, and I do believe it's coming through the speaker as well. Hi.
Sweet.
Yes, I don't have my San Francisco Bay Area look up, but that's okay.
Maybe I
Um,
should change mine to the beach.
oh, that'd be fun. Okay. I just have the video. It might impact what I'm streaming though, so I'm gonna turn that off. I'll just have my audio so you can hear me. I'm gonna see this. Are you ready for me to transition the stream over to the replit, or do you need the link to it? I'll be keeping an eye on chat if anything comes through for questions. Otherwise, I'll be asking you
Um,
questions as well.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm actually still like finishing up the replit right now, so if we can just like chat for a couple minutes while I try to figure out this last bug,
Yeah,
that'd
of
be great.
course. Take your time with that. I will keep an eye on things and see who's around. And hello, Photon. Oh my goodness. I gotta figure out a way so that I am talking to chat and not necessarily disrupting you while you work.
Oh no, it's fine. I can talk and code at the same time.
Hello, Grandpa. Welcome. I am joined today by Cris Love Fortune. Did I get that right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Chris. Hello, Mercules. Oh my goodness. I was not expecting. It's been a while. Um, we are going to get started and transition over to the coding in just a moment. Mercules says hello to you. It's Cris. Um, let me see. Did I not put your name? Goodness. Okay. I must confess, I am paying too much attention to chat right now and getting distracted by them. Hey, hey, come on. All of you, both of you. All right, I was not prepared for this. Don't mind me. Okay, so for this stream, for everybody just now tuning in, we are going to do a programming podcast and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff and we're going to take questions. So please allow for questions. Um, and enjoy the fact that I'm going to embarrass myself a lot, but I'm also going to learn a lot. So we are, this was a very last minute thing that we put together, so please bear with us. I'm allowing Cris a moment to finalize his Replit, and Replit is a online coding tool that allows people to code together in real time as if you're using something like Google Docs, so you can see changes live. And I'm actually going to take a look at the README right now.
Oh, I haven't made any
Cris.
changes to it.
Oh no, that's okay. I'm just wondering if you'd like me to start by reading the README or just wait again until things are okay.
Yeah, that readme is just like the default thing that it makes when you do like a React app. We can talk a little bit about like React in general or
Oh yeah. I only know kind of background knowledge, like how React was Facebook's creation.
Yeah.
Um, what can you tell us about React as a framework, or like what does a framework mean?
So basically, frameworks are built on top of vanilla JavaScript and they make certain things easier. Like, for example, React is a front end framework that makes building the user facing side of applications pretty quick and easy. This project that I'm going to show off tonight is built using Create React App, which is something that you can just run in your terminal and then in like a couple seconds you'll have a React project with a lot of the skeleton built out for you.
You hear that, everybody? We are learning JavaScript tonight. I do not like JavaScript. I have to be honest with you. I can't stand JavaScript. But I realize that the web is built on JavaScript, so it's kind of inevitable that one needs to learn how to program in JavaScript. Cris, what are your feelings towards JavaScript?
It's what I'm used to, but um, when I learned a little bit of Python in the boot camp I graduated from not too long ago, I actually liked Python a lot better. It's a lot less wordy. You're able to do a lot more with a lot fewer lines of code, which I think is really nice. Especially when you're like going into programming interviews or something, which is the reason why I started learning Python. Um, yeah, it's like nice to not have to write as much.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Demystifying Python for a coding interview is probably, you know, that sensation of your brain falls out and you forget all that you know, and
Hmm.
Grandpa is chiming in being like, Python's got its quirks. And my brain is just like, I see the word quirk and I think of anime, Boku no Hero or My Hero Academia. That's where my brain goes.
I like that show too.
Um, yes. So I think I'm trying too hard right now to facilitate the conversation. And I'm like, what do I ask you that can stay on topic? I'm like, let me think here, because
Why don't you like JavaScript?
I don't like JavaScript because they keep updating JavaScript. So I'm kind of like, okay, so you got constants, you got vars, you've got let, and you've got like all these different things going on. And I think it's because JavaScript, I didn't write a whole lot of vanilla JavaScript by myself. I was writing jQuery. I was using different syntax for JavaScript, and I was grabbing code snippets, and I had no idea how the code snippets worked, but it just worked. And that made me really like, I want to write my own thing in JavaScript from scratch to understand it under the hood. But the whole point is you can just use React like a framework and we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right. But I think it's still important to learn at least like the some basic concepts in vanilla JavaScript, and that way, if you have to learn a new framework for like a job or something, you have that foundational knowledge, and you're not like super dependent on a framework. Because, like for example, for an interview a couple weeks ago, I had to do a take-home challenge without any frameworks at all, and I was totally lost. I had to like go back to the documentation and do a lot of reading. Um, yeah, so it's good to know the basics first.
Right. And so that is why when I find it useful when coding to start with the simplest program. Oh, Grandpa's getting lost? Feels bad. Oh no!
Oh no.
Are you getting lost with the conversation or getting lost in general with coding? Is that what feels bad? Oh my goodness. Our chat is like overwhelmed already.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
No! Oh, no, no, no. Grandpa is relating with you, Cris. I apologize. I just went like, now then, to respond to the that sense of it's good to learn the vanilla version of a language. I I wanted to avoid JavaScript so badly. I started learning Java instead. And I feel like Java as a language, you're learning a lot of object-oriented programming, which is the complete opposite of functional programming from what I understand. Because way, 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 way back when, C was considered a high-level language, and now we say C is a low-level language. And I think that's because um, with the introduction of boot camps and the fact that a lot of them are taught in Python or Java and JavaScript, there's just this huge, huge, huge influx of information. And it's not about learning everything, it's about choosing kind of like a focus or a niche and learning best practices, like agnostic ways of looking at programming. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Clean code. Thank you for summarizing it in 2 words. Um, I thought that we would have the code ready for us to look at. So we're having not technical difficulties, it's simply I'm nervous and it's okay to be nervous. Oh my goodness. This is the challenge of trying to do something live on the go at the last minute. And a lot of people will do podcasts with that back and forth. However, being that I'm so used to kind of not, I need to pause for a moment and consider my words. Okay, question. What is what was your first programming language, Cris?
Um, I actually I started with JavaScript, and then I took a college course in Java because I thought I was going to major in computer science, and that was kind of the only option they gave us.
Oh,
But
goodness.
I at that point I had already just kind of decided that I wanted to do web development,
Mm-hmm.
so Java wasn't really gonna be super helpful there. Um, so that's kind of what made me decide to go to the boot camp. Like I didn't hate Java. I enjoyed it, and I think it taught me some really good habits. It just wasn't really what I wanted to do.
I see.
All right.
Um,
So I went ahead and just like uploaded an old project to REPL that's, live and working.
okay.
I'm gonna send that over to you so we can
Sure.
take a look at that project. Sorry for the technical difficulties. um, I guess I'll just drop it in the Zoom chat. And then
Yeah, go ahead.
and then the second link is one that you can drop in the Twitch chat if people want to click around on it with us.
Okay, so this is gonna be for chat. Everybody can take a look at this one. I'm gonna click on this if it would get into the correct browser. So that is there, and then I am going to transition over to the code now. So then hopefully, is this correct? Let me double check this, making sure it's technical. Yep. Transition. Now we are looking at the code, and if I click over to this, I'm going to get onto mobile so that I can see chat and respond and keep an eye on questions as well. So that is, we'll be juggling a lot of different things tonight, but that is a-okay. Um, let's see. This is the beauty of live streams and doing it live and just kind of rolling with it. There are okay. I apologize. Usually I'm a lot more high energy than this, especially for like streams and like let's get excited, let's get amped, and it's like, but no, this is more down to earth. This is more serious. This is programming. It's I don't know how to explain it. Okay. Oh, a crypto tracker. So at a high level, do we want to review the README and see what this does?
Um, so this was a school project, so a lot of the README is like what I was supposed to do. Um,
Okay.
but at like a really high level, this is a an app that tracks the price of different cryptocurrencies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the thing that I wanted to, I guess, kind of highlight and show you guys with React is hooks, which is a relatively newer part of the framework. It lets you add some really cool functionality. Like if you see up at the top right corner, there's a little dark mode um, switch where you can change the colors by pressing that little button. And that's something that I created using hooks.
Oh my goodness. So how do I have to like maximize this and then see if I can get this right? Now, do I have to hit run to use this or because I see
Um,
the chart. So I
yeah,
see the
it's working.
values. Now, my first question for this is like these icons, were they something that you grabbed like maybe like SVG files for them or they built into the project?
Um,
It's probably just been a while since, I mean,
yeah, it's been a while, so I'm digging around to see what's going on here too. Um,
hey, it's Dogecoin.
yeah. Okay, so it looks like it is hitting an API called CoinGecko,
Oh,
um,
so
and
that
it's
would
pulling the
be.
different like price points and stuff from there. So I imagine that's where that the little logos and stuff are coming from.
Now, is that in the hooks folder that we should be looking at?
Index.js is where you can see that API
Index.js.
call.
API call.
So like right here.
Oh.
Use effect is another React hook,
Mm-hmm.
and what it does is when the page renders, this function gets called.
So
Um,
when the page renders, you're talking about when the page fully loads on the browser, this function executes? Or,
yes.
okay. So from line 13 to line 20, that is the entirety of this hook.
Yep.
Or, okay, so an API call. So if I'm following this correctly, is this syntax a promise?
Um, you
Or is it like a yield, like this function yields into AX iOS,
so Axios is a
Axios?
library that helps with HTTP requests.
Oh, hence the
So for
get.
instance, this
Mhm.
is a GET request. And then I guess like there is some like promise type logic with the then and catch following.
Mhm.
There's like the then will execute if it's successfully able to hit the API,
Mhm.
and then the catch is what you will get if there's an error and it um, can't find that endpoint.
Okay. So that if we take a moment to summarize this get request, this is a URL. Here's a queries part of the string. The currency is United States dollars, and order is the market, maybe like capital descending. Per page, there's going to be 10 pages or 10 results, and then you're starting on page one. and sparkline equals true. Now, I don't know what sparkline is, but we can assume that it has some functionality for this dark mode over here showing these like curves and whatnot. Or not curves, the line, the slope of that. The then is like after getting the HTTP request, then the result, you would set the coin data to that results data. So this res is this a oh, it's an object, a class object?
Um, yeah, I believe the res is the object that you get from the GET request.
Oh, so in that sense, is this turning it into like a JSON object?
Hmm. Exactly. So it's setting the coin data that we've defined up here with that data that we're pulling in from the API.
Uh, like I'm having a hard time following it because I'm kind of trying to translate it in real time in my brain, and then it's kind of like it makes sense. The code's like incredibly clean and it's legible based on just understanding how things work under the hood. Um, Even though figuring out the syntax of JavaScript, I'm like, maybe I'm just like not used to reading it. But anyways, so then this is the catch error in case something goes wrong. Then it logs to the console. Now, console.log is the equivalent of like cout or print or system.out.println, and that's just different ways of saying like display this on the console, which is now, do you know if console is equivalent to the terminal?
Um,
I know that's a pretty dense in the weeds question right now.
yeah, basically, for our purposes, yes. In Replit, there's the console, which is like the output from whatever commands that you're running, and then it also gives you the option to use a shell. So that's what
Oh.
you could use to like navigate through your files and such within the IDE.
So have you
Um,
used replit before? Like a lot, just not the multiplayer version?
yes and no. Like I usually just use VS Code, but I've had to do some like coding challenges and stuff on this platform.
Oh, so console's down here. I see. Compiled with warnings. Use state is defined but never used. Line 117 in navbar. Oh, excuse me.
That's so funny because it has 24 lines in that file.
Oh my gosh, do you want to go look at it right now? Shall we jump on over to that? Okay, let's see. Would that be under components, navbar.js? Now, X. What does the X stand for in the file extension for navbar? Is that
So
Bootstrap?
JSX is um, kind of the markdown language for React. Um,
Oh, okay.
so basically, it is what you use with React to render HTML elements. So you can see this return right here in the navbar. All of the stuff that's getting returned, this is classified as JSX.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see that we're calling our variables right here.
Mm-hmm.
And those are going to be inside your curly braces. That's how you know that like this is kind of JavaScript within our HTML.
Oh, okay. And is it just for simplicity's sake and just clarity that you don't quote unquote break out the brackets, like you keep it condensed like this for the on-click within HTML in React?
Um, yeah, it's just a styling convention that you
I
keep
see.
it in line like that.
Oh, inline, that's the term I'm looking for. I realize my questions are kind of all over the place right now, but I'm
No, that was a good
fascinated.
question. You can like you can also call functions in your within your JSX. Like say we wanted to do that like click handler function within this block right here,
Hmm.
we could do that. and then we could like write the we could basically stick that whole function right here if you wanted to. But like to make it look neater, it's better practice to keep it outside and just have like the formatting stuff in what you're returning.
I
Um,
see.
this whole file is called a component.
Oh, so this is what a component is. Um, one moment, I did want to greet Christopher Fury for coming by. Thank you so much. Monster Hunter is cray right now. Oh my goodness. Uh, VS Code, Grample saying that Visual Studio Code is so quick and easy. That's another IDE. Integrated Developer Environment. It's not nearly as fully featured, however. That we're going to circle back to, I'm sure, because this is programming hours. We have a lot of comp sci people who want to tune in and are probably watching the stream. And just, this is going to be a lot of information, and we're going to talk about so much of it after the fact. And we talked about how this is a component on track. Oh, it's in the source files, components. This is the nav bar. So this interacts with, or this, where's the nav bar in the preview section? That's what I'm wondering.
It's the crypto tracker
Oh, that's
rectangle up at the top.
rectangle. Oh, the entirety of this just kind of like header, you mean?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that whole like uh, it's a dark rectangle if you're on dark mode, and it's like there's barely an outline for
Oh,
it if
I
you're on
understand.
white mode.
So when we think of it as a component, it's literally this representation of a navigation bar in this styling, and it can use dark mode or you can switch it off. That's why the toggle mode exists. I understand now.
Yep, that's where it comes from.
Oh, and then of course you would have that as a constant because regardless of if it's dark mode or light mode, you'd want the nav bar to display.
Hmm. Yeah, so this would be a
My
good
gosh.
opportunity to talk about like the difference between let versus const.
Yes.
So const, like you said, stands for constant. It's something that you're not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when you're declaring like this function right here for like toggle dark mode,
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we're not going to want to overwrite somewhere else in our code by accident.
Mm-hmm.
And when you declare it as a constant, you can't change it later on.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I wanted something temporary, like a counter, that I'm going to like add to every time I do something,
Mm-hmm.
um, I would use let for that because that's something that
That would be
I'm
updated, right?
yes, that's something that I'm planning to update, and I want to be
Ah,
able to do that.
okay. So is it the difference between like let you can update, it's mutable, and then const is not mutable, or is it simply like a reminder for you, the developer, this variable will change?
That's a really good question because you can declare some things that you can like kind of mutate and change as constants. Like for instance, you can make a like constant array and then
Mm-hmm.
do all kinds of things to it. So
Ah, I see.
like it gets a little bit more complex there.
I think that's all kind of like the mentality of like once you're really, really quote unquote advanced as a programmer, you're allowed to, as they say, break the rules. And it's a matter of personal preference. Who are you coding for? Is this legacy code? Are you maintaining it? Is it a personal project? And I think that's when you start getting into like even code itself has a kind of like signature or like style guides to it and all that stuff. Like you can tell who wrote what if you look at their previous code and then, moving forward, how does their code compare? And it's, I don't know, I just think of it like really neat, kind of like, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like handwriting analysis. It's, like it's pseudoscience, quote unquote. But I'm rambling now, don't mind me.
um,
Okay. So I know I've been asking a lot of questions about React, and we're reviewing React right now. Chat, do you have, um, okay, someone went to go pick up their car. I'm just like, ah, yes, perfect. Now, the toggle class mode, dark mode is this is the ternary operator, if I'm not mistaken,
Correct.
right here on line 16. Toggle, toggled, something toggle? Can you explain what that syntax means?
So it's a little bit convoluted, but basically it like we're checking to see if dark mode is true or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it is, then we're adding classes to that div right there.
Oh. Oh, so that when it's in the when it's in the dark mode state, it's marked as toggled so that the program knows, okay, you switched it on.
And that's what changes the what slides that little slider over. Like if it has the toggle class, then it's in
Oh.
one position. If it's not, then it's in the to the left.
Oh, wow. I'm having fun with
Yeah.
that. That's amazing. Okay, so this is React and its power. Now, I just want to cover really quickly this line 2, the syntax for this, just for people who are not familiar with Mac, with Bash and all of that. This is to do dot dot is the previous directory, and then it's in the hooks directory, and then go into use dark mode. So import from the component, the folder outside of this, right? Is it from source?
Yes, it's another folder in source because right now we're inside the components folder.
Oh, oh, the hooks are from. Okay, you have to go back one tier on the project direct or whatever word I'm looking for. The tree of the directory. You have to go back up one, go into hooks, and then okay, I get it. Okay, cool. That was just my brain catching up. Um, yeah. Which file, which part of this project are you the most proud of?
Um, Actually, that gives us a really good opportunity to explore hook because the dark mode hook is probably what we should talk about next. Um, and yeah, that's kind of what I'm happiest with in this project. Like I have reused this whole like set of components in other projects because I really like to read things in the dark.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, so this is use dark mode, and then you can actually transfer this over to another project because it's React. So how does that look? Do you take this file and insert it into your hooks file for other React projects?
exactly. Yep. So the use local storage and use dark mode kind of work together.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does, um, use local storage lets you save a key value pair in your browser. That's all
Oh.
that hook does.
Mm-hmm.
But use dark mode creates like um, a key value pair for like dark mode, and all it does is add a class to the body of the page. It either adds it or removes it, and then that gets tied to that little toggle
Mm-hmm.
switch, and that's what makes the page light or dark once you add in some CSS tied to that class name.
Oh, we did have like a very brief question, if you don't mind
Yeah,
rewinding a little
absolutely.
bit. It was just, is the operator actually spelled tertiary or ternary? I think it's ternary, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
ternary.
it's a ternary operator, Grample. Um, so I'm sitting here in awe, trying not to come across as like nitpicking your project apart because I'm like, this is all new to me. I've heard of it at a high level, like React uses components and hooks and this and that, but you're actually explaining how all those moving pieces connect with one another. And I mean, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I'm easily
Thank
impressed,
you.
but that doesn't mean anything. I'm just like, the point is, this is amazing because once you see how many lines of code there are, once you see how the organization, how many full like files there actually are, and how each one is comprised of all this, to be able to step through it at specific lines and explain what it does, that says a lot to say, like a hiring manager who might not know all the specifics of your language. And I can tell right now, you know what you're talking about. So
I try to anyway.
now, this part, if in dark mode, document.querySelector the body, query selector, is that React specific or is that from
No,
JavaScript?
that's a JavaScript thing.
Okay.
So JavaScript is with the query selector lets you select an HTML element on the page.
Hmm.
This is just selecting the body element because there's only going to be one of them.
Right.
But you could also use like a class name,
Hmm.
or if there's like maybe more than one of the same type of element, you could do like query selector all div, and then that would select all the
Oh.
divs on your page. There's also ways that you can select things by ID. So if you had an ID on that element and wanted to just change that one element, you could do that.
Now I have a question now
Mhm.
that we're talking about selectors and whatnot. What happens if we open up the inspector tool on this browser page?
That's a great question. I'm
Shout.
gonna pop out the project in another tab so that it's easier for me to click around in it.
Okay. I have this tab on dark mode still open. I'm going to use inspect. Now, inspect is a tool kind of built into every browser for everybody who's kind of like, what are they talking about? The browser is a program. When you open Chrome, when you open Firefox, when you open Internet Explorer, when you open Safari, it takes an HTML page, a web document, and it renders all of that by reading this code. And when you inspect, you can actually see that code. And if you manipulate that code, you can edit it live. You'll change what your browser displays. It's not going to change it for everybody in the world, but it will change for you on your computer, your local machine. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on this tab, and you'll have yours open. And now we have this sidebar and you can click this icon up here. And for example, if we choose this element right here, this is called span.jsx, and it has a number associated with the file, and it's the path. So this is the file path that's displayed in replit of Chris's project. And it says here, you can tell it's 14-point font. It uses the font IBM Plex Sans. It's Apple system, and there's accessibility information. There's the contrast factors. There's the name. There's the roles. Is it keyboard focusable? No, I don't know what that means. Doesn't necessarily matter for our purposes. And then if you go in here, you can see other factors. Like this is the CSS that comes with it. So can you see what I see, or do you have it open on your own screen? We probably should have figured out how we are going to do this, but
No, I've got it open and I wanted to point something out really quick.
yes.
So if you click on the toggle up in the top right of the project, do you see in the body of where it says elements, it's adding something to the classes?
So I have one monitor and I'm doing this full screen right now with
Oh
my
no.
browser. Um, that is why everything is so congested on my screen. It's quite the experience to be showing off code live like this with the equipment that I have. And I think it makes more sense knowing that you are also interested in broadcasting. I will help you with OBS or whatever broadcasting software you'd like, and we'll talk off camera about Twitch and all that. But um, yes, so you said a toggle. Which toggle am I looking for
In the project, up in
in
the
the
nav bar.
project? Up in the nav bar, you want me to toggle off dark mode or select the toggle?
Yeah, just like click on it and you can see the class on the body element appear and disappear. And that's what the hook we were just discussing does.
Okay. Would just give me a little space to work with. Yeah, so right now it cuts off the background accessibility tooltip. I'm calling it a tooltip because it's like a hover on kind of thing. It doesn't allow me to see the full thing because my inspect is in the way of it, so it's just chaos, but that's okay. I don't know. What's new? I don't want to see what's new. Console. Yeah, it does say the JavaScript. Oh, and it says error. Language client services has been overridden at object.e.install, generator invoke, and all these fun little things. Waiting for update signal from WDS. Ooh, there's all these like the resource from deprecation. Shared array buffer will require cross-origin isolation as of M91 around May 2021. See developer.chrome.com/blog/enabling shared array buffer for more details. So you can see all this stuff about what's updating when you inspect web pages and be like, oh shoot, I forgot that one thing. Sorry, I'm rambling again, but would you like to continue on our merry way talking about the ways in which HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are all kind of intertwined, or do you want me to show some Python?
There's one more thing I wanted
Yes,
to show off if you're still in the inspect tab.
I am.
If you go all the way over to application,
Application. Um, okay, I
it
see
should be
it.
in the,
Yes.
okay, cool. There should be a thing under storage called local storage.
Uh-huh.
And then there should be like a crazy looking token that has like the dark mode key value that we set in the application.
I do not, oh, local storage. I don't see local storage. Oh, there it is. Replit and oh. Is this the token just called dark mode?
Yep.
Is it like a cookie? I know cookies are down here, but it's kind of like, is it like a session token?
Yeah, it's sort of like that. It's just something that like you, the developer, can set for like just about anything. Like
Oh, look at
in
that.
this case, we're using it to set whether or not the user has chosen dark mode or not.
Oh, so that's the hook then. The dark mode token, it's checking to see is your user in this instance, do they have it toggled on? If so, sustain that state? Is that
Yeah, that's correct. If it's not, and basically, if it's in dark mode, then it's going to add the dark mode class. And if it's
mhm.
not in dark mode, it's going to remove the dark mode class. And that will change the styling that we've set to go along with the class.
And so this is just like one very, very portable piece of React that you have then essentially ported over to pretty much all your projects.
Yeah, it's that's what's good about the way most React projects are structured. If you have like a component that you really like, it's easy to just take those files and use it elsewhere.
That's so
Because for the most
cool.
part, it's pretty like not dependent on too many of the other moving parts.
Oh yeah. That's Python on the other hand, whoo, doing a full stack application with the server and the back end logic and the front end and everything going on. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Um, that is a lot to cover, I think, and we have 20, less than 20. We have 15 minutes left. Um, so let me back up a little bit because we've been very I have been steering the conversation to be very, very densely technical right now. Do you enjoy the deeply technical aspect of coding, or do you enjoy the collaborative part of programming?
Um, I mean, in a lot of ways, you can't really have one without the other,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're building software for people and usually with other people.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like sometimes it's like, no more meetings, just let me code for a little bit.
I'm sorry, this must feel like a meeting to you because it's just like, can we write some code?
No, but yeah, I enjoy both sides of it.
For me, I think I struggle with knowing at what point it's like, is it okay for us to work together? Or it's like, because when I was in boot camp, I was promised that the industry standard is that people pair program, and that I felt so siloed. And I don't know if you've had that experience before, whether it was in boot camp or when it was like, your take-home tests or anything like that, and you're just like,
Yeah, I do feel like there's a lot of that. Well, yeah, you can lean on each other. You can use Google, like totally fine to look things up on Stack Overflow, and then you get like, um, you're in an interview setting or something, and you can't use Google. And so it's like there's kind of a disconnect there because in the real world, you absolutely can collaborate and ask questions and use the internet because all code is sort of built on Stack Overflow. I don't know how they did it.
I would say that it's because different languages were built upon the ones that came before, and then there were extensions and libraries and dependencies and hooks, and everybody is looking at everybody else's code, and it's like that sense of, am I stealing someone's code? Oh God! But it's like, no, 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 no. You're going to learn it from someone else. And that is why I personally wanted to talk to more people in tech, not in the games industry, but like the people who are writing code. What is it like to be writing code, looking for a means to showcase your work? I think I'm asking that for myself and for you and like everybody else watching. Like it's it's kind of like, if I could give it an analogy, the artist who's so ashamed of the fact that they started off tracing
Hmm.
and then starts putting their work somewhere. It's like, oh, my original work doesn't get any like recognition, but the fan art people recognize, and there's that emotional connection to it. There's that going on, and I bring that up because I can tell how proud you are of your project. And I keep deviating and be like, you want to talk about this? You want to talk about that? And it's like, no, 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 no. I want to focus on this that I made that I can use everywhere and say, this is my code that I wrote and I'm so proud of it. That is what that is what I would underscore. Whether or not you choose to underscore that, I am in no position to prescribe advice. So, this is I know I kind of like explain this as like, we're going to have a podcast and talk about tech. It's more kind of like, this is for us. This is for us to showcase what we've done live without any of the like, oh, you're in an interview now and you have to do it like this. Um, it's kind of like, what is it like to have somebody else understand the depth of the work that you put into a project? And I'm not doing your project justice because I don't know React.
No, it's cool. I definitely enjoy, talking about what I've worked on in a low key setting. Um, I've gone to a couple like developer meetups
Hmm.
virtually due to the pandemic, but also it's been cool to talk to developers who are from across the country
Hmm.
like you. But yeah, we had a meetup the other day where we just kind of talked about what we've worked on and got to talk to some people who've been in the industry for a little bit, and
Hmm.
that's one of the coolest parts about entering the tech community has probably been the people that I've met for sure.
And I'm trying to think, like, I want a follow-up question to that. Can you speak to someone who maybe you think of them as like a mentor, but there's never like any like formal acknowledgement like, "Oh, will you be my mentor?" Is there someone who you've worked with who inspires you?
Definitely. I actually do have kind of a formal mentor that my boot camp set me up
Mhm,
with, but we've kind of like become good friends. And like, even though that like mentorship program is over, we still
mhm.
chat like every week or so just to like catch up and see how things are going. But yeah, it's definitely important to get to know as many people as you can in the community, especially those that have like made it, so to speak,
Mhm.
because when you're on the job search, sometimes it can feel like there's no light at the end of that tunnel. But, this guy went from working at a service industry job to like now he's able to buy a house and like support his family. And it's really cool to see.
Yeah, and on the other side of that, I'm just going to say this so that nobody else has to say it. Those feelings of respect and envy at the same time to know that someone else made it. And you're sitting here like, look at all this work I've done. And you're like, why am I not? And then you're just like, because you're an asshole. And it's like, no. And it's like, wait a minute. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. People have those feelings. They just don't like to admit that they have those feelings. And that's kind of like the human part of it that we want to decouple from the work. But at the same time, it's like people should be allowed to have their emotions. It's just that at what point do you compartmentalize this? At what point do you like are honest with the fact that like, yeah, I'm not feeling great about my work. Um, that's all me. That's me being very upfront about that struggle and how to move past that feeling. And that is the iceberg. That is the technical iceberg. Oftentimes, when we see someone succeed, I'm not saying everybody does this, I'm saying I do this. You're like, damn, they got there. How'd they get there? And then you don't see all the crying, all the tears, all the stress, all the when am I gonna get a job? How am I gonna pay the bills? How am I gonna survive? All of that underneath the I did it. I got my certificate. The I got my job offer. The I got promoted. The all of that. And it's not as glamorous as it looks. It's a lot of work, and you're just kind of like, yep, uh, it's gonna be going back to the office on Monday. Here we go.
Yeah, for sure. I think social media definitely makes that feeling a lot worse because, people do, for the most part, only share the good things and don't really talk about how hard it was to get there.
Would you like to talk about how hard it was for you to move through and continue despite? I mean, you don't have to. I'm getting into personal stuff now.
Um, I mean, I feel like I'm still trying to get there, still job hunting, but um, I mean, getting through the boot camp was difficult in and of itself.
Right.
Um, because it was like 13 months or so and 5 days a week. So that's a pretty
13
huge time commitment.
months.
Yeah, it was part time, but still.
Still 13 months.
Yeah.
I shouldn't even be opening my mouth. I apologize. I'm trying to compare mine to yours. Mine was 3 months. I did 3 months and you did it in 13 months. And that breaks my brain. That breaks my brain. Because you had to do it remotely. So of course you have to stretch it out and like how do you stay on task when you're remote? Was it remote? I didn't even clarify if it was
Yeah, it was
remote.
remote. It was live classes for like 3 hours twice a week, and then like the other 3 days for on like projects.
Hmm.
And we had like little like smaller peer groups that we met with on
Hmm.
those off days to kind of like go over what we worked on during the project time. Um,
Holy moly.
yeah, it was a lot of work to be sure. I honestly do not know if I recommend doing that to a friend because it's crazy.
It's a lot of stress, and I can hear the stress, and that is why I wanted to acknowledge and give you space and be like, look, you've done a lot of amazing work because I've seen other people building out components and they were much, much simpler than what you put together, and they weren't full applications. What they did was just like build a build a button, build build a, I don't know, like a radio button, and then build a click on button and build this, like build a modal. It wasn't do dark mode and then make it a persistent session not cookie thing and then like use that in other places and then frickin' do applications and all that. And I'm just like, oh my god, Cris is amazing. Anyways, I say this again because Twitch has that stereotype of being filled with gamers, and a lot of gamers don't understand how much work even goes into programming a video game or like the web that people are using to broadcast. And there's that strange kind of disconnect between user and developer, and I wanted to try and bridge the two of those because there are a lot of computer science students again on here. Um I'm talking so much. Oh my god. We have 4 minutes left. I thought that we were going to get into Python at all, but I don't even know. Do you have questions for me?
um, what made you decide to go with Python, or was that just what was offered to you at the boot camp?
It wasn't Python that I went for, or even what I wanted to do was develop video games, but because I didn't know how to find people I could work with in the games industry, I thought that a women only, or like anybody who is female identified, that kind of space where it's like explicitly, we will give you a heads up if cis men are going to be present on campus, and we are going to give you a nurturing, safe space to learn how to program. That was why I decided to go with my boot camp. And so they taught Python, and it was a full stack environment. And I keep going back to Python because the education module, the experience, the cohort, the alumni network, the everything, it's all Python that I learned and stuck with. And then suddenly I got my first badge on LinkedIn for Python, and people endorse me for Python, and people say I'm good at teaching Python. I'm just like, I can barely code my way out of a paper bag, and yet I can teach Python, so I don't know. I keep going back to it as a teaching tool to inspire other people to code because it's that sense of those who can't teach. That's what I heard. So that's my answer to that question.
Well, there's also some cool like game development frameworks with Python, like Pygame.
I did a lightning talk on Pygame and I never used Pygame, and now I'm trying to build a visual novel with RenPy.
Okay, I've used NumPy a little bit.
Oh gosh. So, have you played games in RenPy?
I like went through the demo one while I was trying to learn it. It's pretty fun.
There's so much to that tutorial, and it's like you can click on this, it'll display that, and you can look at the script itself and use the SDK and be like, that's neat. Oh my gosh, this is how they made Doki Doki Literature Club.
Oh yeah, I've played that.
Oh my God. I have not played it. I know it's free, but I watched other people play it and I was thinking, man, that's ingenious how they made it that way. So, I'm the kind of person where I'll watch other people play a game and then think about the meta-analysis and then look it up on TV tropes
Mhm.
and then be like, how would I make this? And now I'm thinking I probably need to go in and try to make Doki Doki Literature Club happen and quote unquote reverse engineer it. Though, isn't it all exposed because you have to like, well, this is spoiler territory, and we're out of time. Well, let me clarify. Normally, I allow I offer guests 60 minutes to talk about whatever the heck they want, and then I talk over them, as you can hear. Do you want to keep talking, or I don't want to hold you up if you have things you got to get to tonight?
I can talk for a couple more minutes.
We can continue to talk about Python frameworks and parcel tongue things. Um, Let me think. Have you implemented things like data structures and algorithms in JavaScript, or have you used Python for that?
I've used both. Um, the like computer science portion of the boot camp made
Mm-hmm.
us use Python, but then now that I'm like on my own
Mm-hmm.
interviewing and stuff, I
Right.
went back to Node for that since it's what
Oh,
I'm most familiar with because I couldn't learn Python in 3 months. I give you major props for
I,
being able to do that.
to be honest with you, I didn't learn Python in 3 months. I learned object-oriented programming in those 3 months and then threw together boilerplate code and built upon and extended a web application. So thank you for the kudos. I don't think I deserve the kudos. Um,
No, that's fair. I think that like any boot camp, it's gonna give you a foundation, but it's never gonna be all that you need.
mhm,
You're still gonna have to do a lot of work outside of that
right.
to be job ready.
Exactly.
And I feel like a lot of people don't realize that because their marketing is really good.
The boot camp's marketing is really good, or
Yeah,
yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. And that is why a lot of people go into tech adjacent roles. Like, as you can hear, the evangelist in me is trying to tech evangelize boot camps and coding and programming to give back somehow. Or even like I will advocate for all of you boot camp graduates who have the foundation and could probably code circles around a lot of 4-year CS grads. I won't lie. That came from an article I was reading. I'm going to explain myself now about how someone who understands the soft skills side of things, who's not coming out of a traditional program, is a lot more pleasant to work with. Um,
I think it's a different skill set.
it is a
Um,
different skill set.
because like a lot of the computer science curriculum is more focused on the data structures and algorithms side of things, whereas like if you go to a tech school or like a boot camp route, it's more focused on like what what developers do during the day to day and not so much that kind of foundational computer science knowledge. So I feel like
Right.
both groups are kind of at a disadvantage there trying to enter the workforce because like boot camp grads can't pass the interview, but like CS grads don't necessarily have the skills that they're going to be using in the actual job.
Now,
That's just my 2 cents.
have you heard of apprenticeships? And if so, what are your feelings towards those?
I think that I wish that there were more of that sort of thing available. Um, I've applied to the IBM apprenticeship program several times. They've yet to call me. But um, yeah, if more employers would invest in people with like the foundational knowledge but just need like that on the job training,
Hmm.
there wouldn't be as big of a like shortage of skilled technical workers because technical skills can be taught.
Right. Um, I'm going to put this out there for you and for anybody else who's listening. Shopify is looking to hire about 100 interns who are wanting to learn. It's not going to be like an apprenticeship, but there is going to be support for people who are making a transition into the industry for web development. It's going to be software. It's going to be React, I believe, is their tech stack. I don't have further information on that. I kind of accidentally dropped in on a event from my boot camp, and I can ask around about that opportunity and even do some research if you're interested, and we can talk about that afterwards. For now, for just the wind down, Cris, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your work and letting me pick it apart and be like, what does this do? What does that do? Do you remember what this does? And being so gracious a guest to let me just be like, blah, 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 blah.
Thank you so much for having me.
And to everybody who came by or was here and wants to listen in, I may or may not put this on YouTube later. I will verify those details later, and we will decide whether or not it's going to be edited. Probably not, because it's never edited. And with that said, I am going to end the stream. Have a good rest of your evenings. Bye bye, everyone!
Good night.